I'm Brian Foster, and this is the Grindhouse Institute. On each episode of this podcast, Jeremy Floyd and I program a triple feature movie night. Each of the movies share common themes, and we discuss them here. We're happy you could join us for today's block we call Inspiring Kill Bill, Volume 2. The Grindhouse Institute just keeps on trucking with the second installment and conclusion, possibly, of the Q&U created Bride Revenge saga. While the first film leaned heavily into fast-paced martial arts films, the second took a much more laid-back approach to pacing and harkened back to classic westerns of the 70s, with a little martial arts action for good measure. Widowed and left for dead, a young woman seeks the help of a bounty hunter to train her to exact revenge on the villainous Clemens brothers. One by one, she will hunt them down, but will that quench her thirst for revenge? Robert Culp and Christopher Lee train Raquel Welch to be a bona fide killer in Hannie, Caulder from 1971. Chi Hao is sent away to another school to continue his training in Kung Fu and to enter a tournament to prove who has the best dojo. Is it Cobra Kai or Miyagi? Wait, that's not right. The rival dojo enlists an army of mixed martial artists to stop him, but Chi Hao learns to wield the ancient art of the Iron Fist in 1972's 5 Fingers of Death. Picking up right where she left off, the bride, or Beatrix Kiddo, continues her deadly viper hunt. With only 3 names left on her death list 5, Beatrix will slash the faces, pluck the eyeballs, and explode the hearts of her foes. Uma Thurman continues her rampage in Kill Bill Volume 2 from 2004. Thank you for listening to the Grindhouse Institute. Please enjoy.
Brian, for your edification, Eric, in his spare time, just fixes old Game Boys, so that's
cool.
a world that he's familiar with.
Really? Is that a big
I
market?
could just I can fix anything, bro. Any of those old electronics.
Oh, like old Nintendos and stuff
Old
too?
Nintendos, old Game Boys.
Oh, the nostalgia folks will love
Even
you.
some just old random machinery, just like old blenders and stuff.
Wow, that's awesome.
Dude, I honestly, it's something I developed during the pandemic. Because I kind of grew up in a handy household. Like, my dad was a contractor. We always had tools around. But I kind of just got lazy, over the years. And it's something, just a random skill I just started getting into.
Awesome.
That's really cool, yeah.
I needed to be able to attack finite problems and solve them. I needed problems.
You're the Iron Fist of finite problems.
You know what I mean?
Your dad handed you the Iron Fist of Game Boys, yeah.
All right, welcome back to the Grindhouse Institute. I'm Brian Foster, and with me as always is Jeremy Floyd. Hello, and how are you?
Well, I just realized that you and I have unfinished business.
Was that us?
You're supposed to say, baby, you ain't kidding.
Baby, you ain't kidding. Sorry, yeah, that's my fault. Maybe we need to, instead of me waiting for you to say something at the beginning of the show, we should probably work on like something that we both participate.
We'll work on our banter at some point, yeah.
Today we're continuing our discussion of the what is in 2 parts, 4-hour film or 4.5-hour long film total, the Kill Bill series. Kill Bill 2 we're talking about today, or films that inspired it. We're talking about 3 films: Hannie, Caulder from 1971, and The 5 Fingers of Death / King Boxer from 1972, as well as Kill Bill Volume 2. And with us today is a very special guest to talk about these films. Jeremy, would you do the honor?
Sure. This guest is perfect for this one in particular. I've been talking to him for a while, and I know that the Kill Bill series holds a special place in his heart. Bartender, filmmaker, podcaster, Erick Castro.
Fellas, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for inventing this drink that I'm sipping on right now.
Oh, right on.
The 5-point palm exploding heart technique.
Wait, is that for real or is that a joke?
No, it's a real drink.
No, it's for real.
Okay, what is that a secret what that drink's made of, or can we
go through that. I mean, I'd love to know what that drink is.
Yeah, definitely. I could tell you about it. Or, I could tell you about it. Or you could check out the Distinguished Spirits YouTube video where he breaks down the whole recipe.
Oh, look at that plug.
Love it.
Link will be in the bio, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a cocktail that when I put it together, it just seemed very appropriate to have that name. Because sometimes I find with a cocktail, it's really important that the name conveys the vibe of the drink.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people will order it by accident. So I felt like that name really, really dialed in. It really conveyed the seriousness of the drink.
Like the Gibson. It really speaks to me as to...
Almost the same. Yeah.
So the 5-point heart exploding, I keep getting it wrong every time I try to say it from the movie.
It's a tongue twister.
It is. But what's it? Is it a whiskey based or?
It's actually mezcal. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And I guess I'll tell you. Yeah. What's in it? So basically, it's mezcal with a little bit of coffee liqueur, some punta mes, which is a sweet vermouth that's essentially an amaro. It's a sweet vermouth that has a bit of an identity crisis. It thinks it's an amaro.
Yeah.
And and it's we hit it with a dash of chocolate bitters, kind of bring it together, and it's just served over the rocks with no garnish. And the idea behind that is we just wanted the drink to be no nonsense and serious. And the reason it was built around, mezcal was because it kind of pays a little bit of a hat tip to Bill living in Mexico at the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. I kind of thought that was a really cool twist where he went to go live. Like he's essentially his like secret, villain's lair. Was down in Mexico,
exactly.
Which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. It's like a Jim Thompson novel or something. Yeah.
On a beach that's particularly beautiful, bathed in moonlight.
Yeah. You and I need to cross swords.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, yeah, that's the ending of the film is the technique, the 5-point palm exploding heart, whatever technique.
Oh,
is actually
almost had it. Yeah.
Sorry, I almost got there. Is actually used in that scene that you're referring to when he's getting sloshed on Anejo or something, and as they're just sitting there, just getting slain. He knew his time was up. I think by that moment.
I think so.
I've been excited to watch Hannie Caulder since we started talking about this block. Mostly because of the all-star cast that we've been, praising back and forth via text message. I have to admit, not my favorite of movies in general, but I can definitely see how it would either work for this block or a block of Django.
Yeah, definitely the
Bounty Hunter.
The oh god, what's his name?
Christoph.
The Christoph Waltz character is definitely, the Robert Culp definitely inspired that, right? I mean, like
for sure.
Even just his look, his beard, like the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the vest and
everything. Taking on a mentor to help you get revenge. It totally rang,
right?
Like, gave me notes of Django.
Mm-hmm. Totally, exactly.
Yeah, and she's like, "Help me!" No.
There were some pretty good lines in this movie too. Like, I'm glad that these movies have a little bit of humor in them. Like, that guy sees her walking and he goes, "Man, that guy's built." Yeah, he's talking about. Hilarious. But definitely a movie that starts out it's similar to how Kill Bill is when Tarantino's putting you through the paces on what Beatrix has to go through. From the beginning of the film, it's just relentless, and it's kind of relentless with Raquel Welch's character as well.
That was weird in this one. Just I don't know what tone wise they kept like having this weird comic relief of having
they were like the Three Stooges.
The one guy getting kicked out of the gang rape. And it's like, well, what's going on here? It's like it was horror, and then it was like all of a sudden it was like Benny Hill music.
Yeah, exactly. You could put the Benny Hill under there and totally change the tone of that.
Yeah, it was very odd.
Yeah, it was very odd.
Because, based off of the horrific crime that they commit at the beginning, right. And then the movie kind of at a point proceeds to try to make them almost Disney-like, like they're like the Apple Bottom Gang or something.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
If not for that one scene, like all of a sudden, they're so pathetic in everything that they try to do, and they're so bumbling, and like they're so bad
blow
at
up money.
All the crime and everything else. Like you kind of feel bad for them.
In a way, which I feel is very warped. But was that just a thing at the time? I mean, I watch a lot of Westerns. I've seen a lot of those old Westerns, and I'd never really seen it to this extent, where it was almost like trying to make them lovable.
Yeah, you don't make people like that lovable, especially after how you present them at the beginning. And the way the shots of Ernest Borgnine on top of her, too, were just like, Jesus Christ.
I had to turn away for some of that.
Yeah, I know. So did I. I was like, this is gross.
Yeah.
But she does get her just desserts in some really cool, squibby, very brightly colored red blood splatters all over this movie, which I'm totally down for. And Christopher Lee plays is he playing Mexican? A Mexican gunsmith?
Well, he's in Mexico. I don't know if is he supposed to be Mexican? I
thought
know.
Those were his kids, right?
No, because I think they make a comment about him leaving the U.S. They kind of allude, I think, that he was on the run or something.
Okay, got it. But he had a British accent.
Yeah, it's kind of a muddled accent. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe.
Accent's a little kind of muddled there.
Really? Well, so's your tan.
But I thought Robert Culp was awesome in this, and Christopher
great.
Lee was great. And those were some great scenes, great shootouts, especially with the one with Christopher Lee. I thought that was my favorite of the movie.
Yeah,
they were like tossing guns back to each other, and like
probably my favorite duel in the movie was the ultra slow motion of Ernest Borgnine versus Robert Culp with the
Yeah. Oh my
Ultra
God.
slow
How
motion.
did he not shoot him?
Staccato frames.
Yeah, it was. They slowed that thing down to probably 3 frames a second, I think.
And then he somehow still landed to land the knife, even though Robert Culp through the entire movie keeps saying, move when you shoot, move. Because he's going to shoot
right.
too.
Good point.
That's why I thought he was going to pull it off. I was like, okay, he always taught her to move, so he's going to evade the knife, but no, he doesn't.
I don't feel like she ever used that advice, though. The only advice she ever really used was shoot again.
Do it again. Or,
do it again. Keep shooting the person. But so I guess either one of those is like interchangeable. You can either move out of the way or just keep plugging your villain there. Yeah, exactly.
Take your pick.
Yeah, he couldn't follow his own advice, and I guess neither could she. I mean, it's kind of a weird mentorship in this one. I mean, I guess in terms of how it connects to Kill Bill in a way is like that. Obviously that was kind of the sort of Pai Mei section.
Sure.
With Robert Culp there, although the Pai Mei section was a lot more entertaining to watch.
Still, some of my favorite stuff. I believe that's the head of the Crazy 88s, right? That plays Pai Mei.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's the same guy.
Gordon Liu.
Gordon
Liu. Yeah.
He was Johnny Moe or whatever in the last one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That little zoom in. Yeah, he was great. I love that fight that's my favorite fight of the 2 films too, of the Kill Bill films, is when he jumps on that sword and just balances on that sword. It's so like that wire work, like to the fullest,
Yeah.
And even the visual changes, like almost to like some grainy old film stock, like super, like almost overexposed. But it just really sells that.
Exactly. All the skies blown out all the time, and yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. But back to Hannie Caulder for a second. Like despite some of that tone mess, which is also crazy because this is 2 years after the Wild Bunch. I mean, it's like that sort of like postmodern Western had already happened, where it's just like it's all grit and no nonsense, and then we get into this one, and it's like. Just kidding. It's like we've got the grit, and then we've got Benny Hill.
Some nonsense,
which is a little weird. But anyhow, on some of the more positive side on that one, like I loved some of those shots, like where it was like I think one of the opening shots was like looking down the gun barrel as they're robbing that bank.
Yeah.
They had a lot of really funny lines. I think they gave Raquel Welch some great lines. It was like, "Oh, I heard you got real smart since I saw you last." Funny, I didn't hear the same thing about you.
Yeah.
They turned her into a badass by the end. Yeah.
No, the best line is when she says, "You know what they say? There's no such thing as hard women, only soft men."
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like the guy doesn't say shit to that. He just sits there like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'm all right. I have no response to that."
Just got dunked on. Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure this probably feeds into the idea that there was a bit of a tonal, confusion in this movie, but the disco credits at the end or at the beginning were pretty fucking awesome, man. I mean, that was 70s disco, like the images over images on themselves, man. It was awesome.
Exactly. No, that was great. How weird was it to have the the preacher from Blood Meridian in this movie, and like he's just like, hey, can you fix my gun? And then we never see him, and then he comes out of nowhere and saves her ass. It's like,
saves the day.
Wait, is that supposed to be? Whoa, I didn't even make that connection.
Who was it supposed to be?
No, but just what I mean is just the name. The name is very similar, where it's just a mysterious figure, a mysterious preacher. Because I only read that book for the first time recently, Blood Meridian.
Oh, Blood Meridian.
It stayed with me, man. That's a haunting.
Yeah, totally.
That's a haunting book, man.
But I mean, he had the same sort of name as preacher in that one, right? But he also reminded me a lot of like the Man in Black in the Dark Tower series. It was just it's like this very mysterious guy, but like it almost seemed like you wanted to spend a little more time with him, and a little less time with the bumbling rapist gang. Figured
he just took on like the spot or the section that was missing once Culp got killed. And once Culp was out of the picture, then all of a sudden the Man in Black showed up, and he's like, "Don't worry,
right.
I've got your one lifeline here."
Yeah, he's just this unknown avenging angel out of nowhere. Yeah, it's very weird.
Well, one of my last notes is Man in Black, preacher saves the day. Like I just kind of like was trying to put the end of the movie together. But
right.
That was about it.
I think I had the same note. It was like, just no explanation then. Okay, cool, gotcha. Yeah.
On to the next movie, Kill Bill Volume 2.
Yeah, exactly.
I just realized I mixed up the name of the preacher and the judge from Blood Meridian.
God, you're right.
So I might have sounded like I was crazy.
No, I'm the one who messed that up. You're
because the judge, man, the judge is haunting.
Judge, yes.
Such an interesting character.
Well, and you're given a little more to chew on. I mean, he's still very mysterious in Blood Meridian, but you're given a little more to chew on, I think. And in this one, it's just like he's just a total mystery, But he's also like the judge is a lot more completely ruthless and just like
a scumbag, but charming in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. There's a little bit of anti-hero, but yeah, exactly. It's very anti, and then just a little bit of hero.
At the beginning of the book, you're actually, this guy's kind of cool, and then it gets further in, you're like, damn, this guy's, I don't know about this dude. And then by the end, you're like, oh my God, is that Satan incarnate walking the earth?
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding. That's not hyperbole. That's what some of the literary theories have to say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because what's his name? McCarthy often works in those kind of allegories. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. You just ended up finishing that book.
Oh man, it blew my mind. I maybe finished it a couple months back.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. I mean, it was to the point where
it was a pandemic read.
Yeah, it was one of those books that when I finished reading it, and it's kind of a tough read. By what I mean is like the paragraphs are dense. And I've read some of his other books.
Yeah.
And I loved his other books, and then this one was kind of all right. Wow, this is. But it was kind of dense, but it never felt like a chore because it always felt rewarding. It's like when it's like when you're taking a sip of like a complex spirit that's almost like Isla whiskey or something. We're like, okay, wow, this is aggressive, but you know what? If you get into this and hit it with a splash of water, there's something really in here that's really beautiful. That's how that book was, and it was honestly, I mean, I can't remember the last time I read a piece of fiction that when I put it down, I just spent another hour or two just researching theories and ideas
digesting
and meanings behind it.
Yeah,
it's a really good book.
Oh, that too. Yeah. Yeah, it's intense. I didn't like it as much as like The Road or No Country.
That's kind of tough though, because they're so different. The Road is maybe one of my top 10 books ever.
I thought The Road was a great book. Yeah. I don't think the movie was that great, but the book was great.
The movie's pretty similar. I feel
you saw the movie? I only got like 10 minutes in. It was like, this is dog
I didn't
shit.
get through the whole thing. I guess I need to give it the whole shot. Yeah, I only saw a few minutes of it.
Next up, we're watching all the Cormac McCarthy movies.
No Country's awesome.
Speaking of authors that whose works have been turned into movies, my wife and I were just talking about this last night. Mm-hmm. Have any Vonnegut books ever been turned into a decent movie?
Oh, a decent movie.
Slaughterhouse-Five got an adaptation, I think, in the 70s.
Was any good? Because he's one of my favorite authors.
I haven't seen it. Yeah.
And I have like no interest in seeing any of his books turned into a movie.
Yeah.
Because they're so weird. I don't know how the hell you'd make them.
Right.
Poetic.
I almost feel like The Breakfast of Champions would work best if it was animated.
Oh, okay. Yeah, apparently they made it live action in 1999.
Whoa.
With like a crazy cast, Bruce Willis, Albert Finney, Nick Nolte, Barbara Hershey, Omar Epps, Buck Henry. It's like, what the hell?
What an odd group.
It actually
Buck
came
Henry?
out of it went into production and was made.
It's made. Yeah. It's a thing. You could watch it.
It's a thing. It exists.
It was panned by critics and it was a box office bomb, but you can watch it.
Is this revisionist history? I'm not
It
buying
doesn't
it.
mean it didn't happen.
Exactly. But Eric, maybe this is a question for you. Can you explain what the hell Robert Culp was drinking there for a while when he had that very bizarre 3-fingered grip on his little glass? It was like, what, blackstrap whiskey? It was like, what the hell was that stuff?
I don't know, but it kind of
holding it like
looked it kind of looked like a 5-point palm exploding heart technique, though.
Yeah.
I actually even thought of
There you
that.
go.
I was like, oh man, that's just too good. Because it looks like that. Because it looks like a cocktail. I don't know what the hell else it could be. Unless you drink.
Yeah.
Right, I mean,
like
you
some
can't
beer
age
or
anything
something?
that dark. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, he's got the like jazz drummer, like the way he holds his
exactly.
glass. You know?
You're a terrible liar, Hannie.
So did they give him much of a background outside of the fact that he was a bounty hunter? I'm assuming he must have been part of some government organization at one point, and went independent, or maybe an outlaw. But they never really got into his background.
I think,
right?
as we'll see across all three of these films today, like backstory is always a little vague in these ones. It's like, this guy has some incredible abilities and all this other stuff. There's this very mysterious and incredibly abled black suited preacher with a black horse and all this stuff, but we don't know much about them. It's just, they're just there. It is what it is, type of thing.
So accept it, Brian. Stop asking
Yeah.
questions. Got it.
Yeah, you're asking too much of your light entertainment film.
I will make a comment though on something that my wife noticed I hadn't really caught was that Raquel Welch's outfits look very contemporary. And my wife was walking by and looked at it. She's like, "Wow, she looks like a Joshua Tree hipster."
Yeah,
Coachella.
Like that
Yeah.
hat. If you had that outfit on, you would be
Right.
you would be like an Instagram influencer just by default.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they didn't have her dolled up or anything in this movie. They didn't have her made up. She was covered in dirt most of the flick, and either getting beat down and taught similar to Pai Mei, the Pai Mei tutelage, the cruel tutelage of Robert Culp here. But yeah, I mean, I thought that she played the role well. She owned it. Her lines were delivered strongly, especially at the end, those one-liners that the protagonist needs to deliver. And I thought it was overall successful.
And another good one where she was trading barbs sort of verbally that I loved. I wrote this one down. It was like, "I'd sure hate to be you when the Clement brothers find out about this." And she's talking to that sheriff or whatever.
Hate to be.
And she's like, "Yeah, I'd hate to be you anytime."
That is a good one. That is a good one. Well, I feel like, in a movie like this, these old westerns, they don't have a lot of dialogue. I mean, the whole script is probably, 30 pages or something?
Yeah.
So,
You gotta be thin, yeah.
when you have such a, it's so concise in regards to the script, it's like every line has to, have impact.
Yeah. And that's true. That they definitely did kind of keep that in mind, where it's like there's a lot of weight to what they said in those moments. I mean, even Christopher Lee, when he was talking about how he'd have to build the gun this way or that way, and it made her I don't know what the fuck the mechanism is, but you didn't have to cock it essentially.
Yeah, exacted. It was automatic. Yeah.
Automatic. There you go.
Yeah.
It was right there. I said the first syllable of it. Yeah.
Just use this finger to shoot once, and then use your middle finger to shoot again.
Why the two triggers?
Just a bit of Bailey magic saves using your thumb to cock the hammer. You use your middle finger to pull the lower trigger. The hammer goes back. Now pull the other.
That was cool, and I got some major Hanzo vibes from
That's
those
what I got
scenes,
from
too.
that vibe too, or from
Sure.
that scene.
Yeah.
He was a
true.
cool character. I love a good gunsmith, and I thought that there was a cool, like you were saying, the montage between training and making the gun at the same time. So you were making a weapon on two fronts, in parallel.
Right.
Pretty cool.
And I also like that he was a little mysterious,
Right,
like how
exactly.
you weren't quite sure where he was from. None of us really were, and I kind of think that's kind of cool. He's just kind of mysterious dude.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
He was Enrique from Terminator 2, man. He was the dude that had all the guns below below his property in Mexico. Yeah.
Right.
Estás aquí!
You're pretty jumpy, Connor.
Well, should we move on to Five Fingers?
Oh, we absolutely should. I mean, don't you mean King Boxer from 1972?
Or depending on, which distributor is showing this one?
I was trying to look up this film to get some background of it, and I kept, like you were saying, I kept finding this in multiple titles. So I guess King Boxer is the original title, but when it was brought over here, it was Five Fingers of Death from the Shaw Production Company.
They were the production company, and then I think Warner Brothers distributed it here.
There you go. Yeah, that was what I was trying to say through all that. Yeah. But another Shaw Scope production. All that with the intro. I love that stuff. But this is, it's funny because we watched this in relation to Kill Bill. And I also watched Mortal Kombat last night for the new one that just released. It was pretty damn good. I liked it a lot.
Cool, man.
But it's another one of these tournament films that kind of determine, the life or death of something, whether it be in Mortal Kombat is, Earth being okay with other realms invading. But this one is just two schools. It's very Karate Kid, if you will. Yeah. It's Cobra Kai versus the...
There's 3 schools in it, but it's
right.
Whatever rivalry between 2 schools, kind of.
Because the first school, right? His first tutelage, yeah. Oh, that's right, yeah. So this movie was awesome. So a lot of, I did watch a pretty shitty print of it. I don't know if that's the only one that's streaming right now, but it was a small 4x3 and letterbox and VHS transfer. It was and over. It was pretty bad.
Where did you watch this?
It was on Amazon. It was, I don't know, streaming through Amazon. But overall, this movie I thought was exactly what cinematography in these fight scenes came from. It's like that. Mm-hmm. They've got a wide shot. They get the movement, and then it's to the close-ups of each, to really get in and out. And it really showed the speed of cutting. And it seemed like this was kind of the the genesis of where things were going with these kinds of martial arts films.
And I also love that in the fight scenes, they're actually making contact. When you're hitting the ground in that, they're hitting the ground. I don't care if there's pads underneath those wood planks. You're still hitting that pretty hard. The lengths that they're going to make it believable is impressive.
Yeah, the punishment they're going through for your entertainment. Yeah. I mean, apparently this movie really set a lot of those tropes, and was one of the things that it was very seminal to this genre.
Yeah,
the different schools, the way that the bad school would always cheat and all this stuff. Right. All those little things that we all recognize from every single martial arts film like this. This one, because it was so successful and everything else like that, it sort of set that tone. Also, apparently, the sort of pace at which the fight scenes were cut, that was apparently different before this movie, and then sort of very very much copied after that.
Yeah, it feels like even though they were still figuring this out, or this action format out, this movie really took it further. And there's obviously a lot that came from this. In terms of people stealing shots or using those shots that were so successful, because the coverage was awesome in this. I mean, there were shots from everywhere. I feel like they had probably 1,000 shots on a shot list when they shot these, because these fight scenes were, from either top, from bottom. It really reminded me of that last fight in Kill Bill Volume 1. There was just a lot of coverage. There were some big fights in this, and this movie really punctuated the fighting, and it was the fighting that was important to the story and everything. I thought that this is one of my new faves, and I know I've seen it before. I think we mentioned that the last time, right? It might have been one that was on TV a long time ago, and I remembered a ton of it. Oh yeah,
but they used to play it on TV a bunch, but I mean, it had been so long. I mean, I saw it when I was a kid, and then I was never saw it again, and all I could remember was the glowing hands and
exactly,
especially when he. Yeah, when he messed up that guy at the very end, the Japanese assassin. That one stuck out in my mind for some reason. But a lot of the other finer details about how many sort of nemesis he faced in this one.
Yeah,
there were a lot of villains in this.
Yeah, there were, and Raiden was a villain for a while in this. With the guy with the hat, with the 5 head. That guy was using, and it was cool because he had such a big forehead. Right?
Yeah.
And he was actually using that as his fighting power. He would throw his head through things. People would toss shit at him, and he would just fucking ram it with his head. It was awesome. Mr. Cheng Leng.
But I like how he still gets redemption At the end, he's
yes,
redeemed.
exactly. Yeah, he switches over, right? Like it's
yeah. When he sees how like messed up these guys are, yeah, exactly.
But the dub I had, the dub over was so bad on this that like when he delivers like these really cool lines at the end, like "Go get him," like I saved your back.
You have to
it's
see
just kind of like, "Hey man, go get him," go take care of things. It's really bad.
Oh man,
but...
I put the subtitled Mandarin version in the folder. You should have
I
watched
watched
it
that
way.
one.
I promise I will watch that next time.
Because I feel like a bad dub can ruin it. Because it can make the serious parts funny.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote in this, I'm like, I hope it has already, but it really needs a remaster. But that was based on what I was watching, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the one that Eric and I watched, I feel like it looked pretty good. I mean, it was off of a DVD or whatever, but it still probably looked a lot better than what you're describing. Actually.
Yeah.
I didn't describe something beautiful.
How many references do you think came out of this one for Kill Bill? I mean, obviously the Ironside theme that keeps playing every time he's getting worked up to fuck some people up.
I mean, he's powering up his hands. Let's call it what it is. He's powering up his Iron Fist
he's
super
Mega
hands.
Manning his hands.
Yeah, when you hold down the A button or the B button. Yeah.
When they were talking about the Iron Fist in this, I thought we were going to get a little bit more 5-point palm exploding heart technique.
Yeah.
But it really was just hold your hands up. We're going to do some sort of red color shift on your hands, and then you can punch harder.
It was open palm whenever that happened. So,
okay.
I mean, in fact, like he was like, I shouldn't use this. And he would close his fist and like turn off the iron palm or whatever.
So it's iron palm. It's not an iron fist.
Oh, I think his translation translated to Iron Fist.
Yeah,
unless that's
it's a mistranslation.
Bad dub translation. Yeah, exactly. But this one had Raiden. This one had a Ming the Merciless looking character that fight in the street that they go into.
Yeah, with what's his name? Oh my God, Bolo Young.
Right? Weren't we just saying?
Yeah.
But he was.
I can't remember if we were recording. We were talking about that, but
he was shredded in that, and I mean that dude just got bigger over time, like bigger and bigger.
By the time he gets the blood sport or whatever, yeah.
He's bouncing his tits like boom, boom, boom.
Wait, is that really Bolo?
Yeah.
Whoa, dude! Honestly, I was thinking like, man, that guy looks like Bolo.
Like the Mongolian or whatever that guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I just love that whenever they showed him, they would always get him like at a low angle, and the moves that he would do, especially on the first guy when he was meant to just wipe the street with that guy, he was just like doing like one arm move, and like the guy was fucking flying. It's so funny with those like big punch sounds and everything in these movies. It's great. And then the eye pulls, the L driver eye pulls. Like this was it. And I love that the reveal that the massage balls were fucking eyeballs. I was like, oh my God.
It's like stress balls or whatever those are.
Yeah, I was like, oh, what's the big deal? Why do they keep showing him with those? And then he drops them. I'm like, yes, they're eyeballs.
You don't have a future, bitch. The like sound effect of like the eye snatch too. It's like, it's like
I love it.
It's funny though. Like I feel like the movie felt long. I guess all three of these kind of had that sort of like, we're just gonna take our time and let things unfold. We're not gonna worry about like just kind of keeping the pace going. It's we're gonna relax through all these things. And, there's gonna be explosive moments in all of them, but I think in all three of them they all have this like interesting pacing where you kind of like able to let certain scenes breathe.
I agree, and I mean they weren't that long. The other two movies weren't that long compared to.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of total runtime, it's just like the internal pacing of a certain scene would just you'd let it, kind of have its own sort of respiration and just kind of like let it develop.
I think Hannie Caulder would have been 60 minutes had it not been for that slow motion scene with Robert Caulder.
Yeah, the slow motion knife
slowed
throw.
It down.
Yeah. I love how it's like Ernest Borgnine's like special power or whatever. It's to like accurately throw a knife really faster than you can shoot a bullet.
He's like Annie Oakley with that thing.
You pretty good with that shotgun?
I'm a fucking surgeon with this shotgun.
It was a little haunting to see Ernest Borgnine as a bad guy. I swear, I'm only used to him being like the lovable uncle from like 1980s movies.
yeah.
And seeing him as just like this vicious criminal was kind of a little like, it kind of threw me for a loop.
Yeah, I mean, he was not necessarily a good guy, but he was kind of an anti-hero in the Wild Bunch. And that's where like, that's the one I remember him most for like him being more of a badass or whatever. But in this one, yeah, he's just like a straight up villain, which is, right. It's like,
I knew him as the guy from Airwolf.
Yeah. Right. Cue the Airwolf theme.
If there's going to be a reboot of anything, man, they should reboot Airwolf.
Was that the helicopter one?
Yeah.
Except now it'd be like a Uber helicopter.
Yeah.
It's like Knight Rider with a helicopter.
Yeah, exactly. There's a bunch of those at the time. Vehicle shows.
Yeah. but you're so right about the iron palm thing. I really thought that it was going to be more of like the 5-point palm exploding heart technique. I mean, he did do something kind of like that when he was fucking up all the henchmen before he was getting to the sort of main bad guy. One of them in particular, he slaps him in the back, and the guy's heart jumps up into his throat, and he's like blood sprays out of his face.
Blood out of his
part
mouth.
is so cool.
It was awesome.
Intense.
There were some really awesome blood splatters in this movie. The one I really liked were those karate chops or those kung fu chops, just down on the top of somebody's head, and it would just slice their head
open your forehead. Yeah,
like they're Gallagher or something.
What's funny? I thought the movie was going to be kind of anticlimactic because it he gets to the final boss, and the guy kills himself. You're like, wait, come on, and then it turns out there's a secret boss.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because he got all the coins moving up to that and before that in the previous levels.
And then I like when the movie's over, it's just over. There's 3 seconds of credits or something.
Yeah, he punches that guy through a wall, and it's like, okay, well, we're done.
It's a nice shot, though, to end on. I think we just ran out of time in that one. It's like, we got to end it.
Right. I mean, because actually that is kind of a fascinating thing here. It's like there's this, aspect of how Tarantino, takes from all these exploitation films, these really low-budget films, and, all these movies have these, sort of shortcomings or backstory missing or, all of these types of things. Where it's that how do we end this one? Well, we ran out of money, so we'll just have him kill the guy and then, credits, boom. And there's this aspect where he takes so much inspiration from what people have to do in the low budget world. Especially the sort of low budget exploitation world, where you're just trying to get as many chills and thrills as you can, and you got $200,000 to do it, and it's like
what can you get out of that production value wise?
and then he takes that and does the $150 million version of that.
Exactly.
And it's funny because he'll do some of the corner cutting that they would end up doing in these low budget and don't have the resources type of movies to do, and he has all the resources in the world, and it will still kind of do those kinds of things where it's like, what is Bill's assassination squad? We don't really know. It's not like it's ever really explained. It's like, well, they kill people, okay, for what and what? It's like all these things. It's like it's not very clear.
Jetting around the world, killing human beings, and being paid vast sums of money.
Kill Bill 2 came out in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Kill Bill 1 came out in 2003. 2003, I think, was the year of the sort of third Lord of the Rings film. Thus, we started the era of why have one movie when you can milk it and turn it into two? Every book adaptation now is the final one is split into two things. Kill Bill is sort of at the vanguard of that.
I feel like Django should have been two movies.
Yeah.
I honestly do.
Well, it certainly sort of bisects down the middle like two movies.
Because it kind of has 3 acts. And then and then it has another 3 acts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's it kind of and it starts over. And I love it. It's a great movie. But I kind of almost feel like, oh man, we kind of rushed through that first half. Let's flesh it out. Because the movie, I think, runs over 3 hours.
Probably something or close to it, yeah.
Or it certainly feels like it. In this one in particular, you kind of feel the certain moments where it's he's languishing in things that you could have just cut out, some of the stuff about how long we spent with the, her last assignment and the pregnancy test and all this stuff. The seeing how much of a pathetic wreck that Bud has become.
Yeah.
I mean, we're languishing in these moments and these like these sort of side stories that sort of like are not what we're actually focusing on. And it's because he split it up into two movies, and we were able to like spend that kind of time. But if it was cut down into a single movie, which I guess they did do for some sort of re-release, they did the whole bloody saga or something like that.
I was going to ask that. I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, they have a cut where it's just one giant like 4-hour movie.
Right.
Like the Bloody Bride saga or something. Is that what you said?
No, I can't remember what they called it. Hang on, let me look it up real quick. It's
Kill Bills.
Yeah. The Whole Bloody Affair is what they ended up calling
Oh,
it.
that's
So there you
funny.
go. Yeah.
That's very Tarantino.
Yeah. You know what's funny about the Bud thing? Speaking of that, like, why didn't they cast Keith Carradine as Bill's brother?
I'm a bouncer in a titty bar, Bill. If she wants to fight with me, all she's got to do is come down to the club and start some shit, and we'll be in a fight.
Michael Madsen did a great job, and is sort of, I don't know, iconic in the down and out Bud character, but it just seemed like a good place to put Keith.
I didn't care for the Bud character too much. Like when they started fleshing him out in the second one, I thought that they were going to have a little bit more of a badass assassin, and I know he really held his own against Beatrix, but really it was just a double-barreled shotgun full of rock salt that put her down. It wasn't like he did anything really, very technically cool, or it didn't have a big fight with her or anything.
Yeah, you didn't get the feeling he had the Pai Mei training. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but Elle on the other hand did.
Yeah.
Speaking of training, I just wanted to go back real quick that to Five Fingers of Death. We were talking about the Iron Fist technique, and there was like this big moment where the instructor or the Sifu is like, I'm going to teach you this technique. No one knows this technique. It's called the Iron Fist. And he goes, but I can't teach it to you. So here's the manual. And he just hands him a fucking book, pieces of paper. I'm like,
Do
wait
your
a
homework.
second.
Start reading.
You got to read this now? Am I not going to get a fight montage?
Yeah.
It's just me reading really fast with some music playing behind it. But I guess we also didn't learn how to do the 5-point palm exploding heart technique.
Yeah, that was off screen.
That's in a different manual.
Yeah.
That was a different.
That's DLC.
Yeah. And he wrote it in Japanese so she could understand it, I guess.
There you go.
Yeah. At one point, when Beatrix and Elle are first facing off, and Beatrix doesn't have a sword yet, she's like sort of whipping her within a TV antenna, and
Yeah.
And Elle gets that cut on her face that looks almost exactly like the cut that the King Boxer got, Chi Hao in Five Fingers,
For sure.
or King Boxer, whichever title we're going
King
with.
Boxer, yeah, that's the movie I watch.
Yeah, Eric and I watched Five Fingers of Death.
King
You
Fingers.
watched King Boxer. Yeah,
I saw that too, and that seems to be one of those tropes that definitely pops up. Is in the middle of a big fight, there's like the stop, and it's usually because there's like one cut on the face or the arm, and then they kind of look and like either like lick the blood.
you were able to strike a blow on me.
Exactly. It's that. Oh my goodness, you penetrated my defenses.
You drew first blood.
Exactly. But I think Daryl Hannah is awesome in both of these movies, especially this one because she really gets to show off a little bit physically, and even though she kind of goes out with the eye pluck and everything, and she's just kind of
or does
flailing.
she?
Yeah, right, or she's just kind of flailing around. Yeah, she
Yeah.
never really kills her, right? Like she doesn't really
Right.
take her. Yeah, she leaves her for dead.
Well, that was the thing I was kind of building up to with that. I'm glad you reminded me the whole Lord of the Rings
oh yeah.
thing there, which is that like this movie did what Lord of the Rings did, which is like have that like 3 different final credit sequences or whatever, and in one of them they were we're going through like crossing off the names, and then it was like Daryl Hannah, her credit, and then a big question mark, right? So it's like
Yeah.
who knows, maybe they're planning on doing another another sequel, or maybe not.
There was the poisonous snake still in the trailer.
Right.
That's
yeah.
true.
That was the last thing is that you see is the Black Mamba still crawling around there. So
Well, that Black Mamba recognized that her nickname was Black Mamba, so it didn't attack her.
it backed off. Yeah.
That's how it
totally
works.
Oh, you're the Black Mamba. I'm also a Black Mamba. I'm gonna let you leave.
Yeah. Don't you know the rules? Yeah.
I thought those were some cool scenes, especially how Bud dies. Like his face looked gnarly from all those snake bites, but it wasn't like overplayed or anything. Like there wasn't goo coming out of his mouth or anything like that. Like it just really looked painful, and it was more of a performance thing. I thought.
Since I am a bartender in Distinguished Spirits, Jeremy, since you and I have an affinity for cocktails, I have to comment on how terrible his margarita is.
I was just going to bring that up, yeah.
It looks disgusting.
Wait, he dumped it into each of those cups?
Yeah.
It looks hideous.
Trash ice and a bottled margarita
From top
mix.
to bottom, it's hideous.
But it looked like Bill was drinking the good stuff at the end.
Yeah, well, he didn't need the margarita mix. It shows the refined difference between the brothers.
There you go.
Maybe that's why you couldn't cast Keith Carradine, because he'd be too refined. Yeah.
That's actually a good point.
Yeah.
But I don't. Yeah, like I was saying, I don't really care for the Bud character. I just think it was kind of an excuse to get that whole strip club scene in there with Bishop, and it was just a little bit with Rocket. Thanks, Rocket. That one.
Yeah, Bud, honey, the toilet is at it again. There's shitty water all over the floor.
Okay. Rocket.
But Sid Haig was also in that scene, the guy that was working the bar.
Yeah.
And he's tell him to get his fucking ass in here. Hey, he'd like to have a word with you.
Yeah.
That guy was like a class. That was just kind of like another vehicle to get some exploitation actors in there.
Yeah, for sure. And you could tell that he was dying to get the Larry Bishop, or whatever that guy's name is, the son of one of the Rat Pack guys. And his thing is funny.
Yeah.
But it's like Are
you on tomorrow? No, you're not. It's calendar time. Calendar time for Bud.
It's like having an asshole right here.
I do kind of like that he was washed up, though, because it added an element that happens in real life, and that's when you kind of want revenge on somebody, or you kind of don't wish well on someone, and then you see the state of their life, and you're like, oh, shit, man. Like, this person's life is bad enough. Like, they ended up getting their own revenge on themselves.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, someone like Bud, it's like, I bet you for a split second, nah, actually, probably not. I was thinking for a split second, she might have thought about not even getting revenge on him because his life and existence was so bad that it was almost redundant at that point.
You're
good enough.
He had revenged himself.
I was going to come kill you, but damn, man, like, I think it's more torture to just have you live for the rest of your life.
I think it would be more painful to let you live, yeah.
You call this a margarita?
Exactly. Yeah, it kind of reminded me of how, in at least the book that the Stephen King book, the Body, which became Stand By Me, the movie. In that, the sort of the head bully is Ace Merrill. It's like played by Kiefer Sutherland. In the book, you see him as an adult, and he runs into Ace, and Ace is this broken down Bud character.
Oh.
And he's just this like huge fucking loser, at a bar, just like kind of slumped over, and just a total mess. And it kind of had echoes of that. And there obviously is something really interesting in that. It feels like that was kind of grafted out of a different movie and stuffed into this one.
It just feels displaced.
And same with like the maybe the pregnancy scene. Or the really, really long Esteban Vallejo scene. The scenes in and of themselves are good, and they're entertaining, and they're all like well made.
But they always feel pastiche.
Well, yeah. There's a little bit of that, which the whole movie is pastiche, and the whole movie is like actually both parts. Both parts like feel so different. This one is definitely a little more Western influenced. The previous one was a little more sort of Bushido code, samurai influence, and all this stuff. But even within that, there's all kinds of different mishmash of things. Or the wedding planning scene in the beginning. It goes on for so long before we get to like what we're doing there. You know, the movie feels sort of indulgent in that way.
Wait, a Tarantino movie that feels indulgent?
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, asshole.
Good call, Jeremy. We might need to look into this further. I don't think that this
is some
has been
insight. No one's ever talked about this.
I must warn you, young lady, I am susceptible to flattery.
You know, Ricardo Montalban was supposed to play that Esteban role, but he didn't show up to the first day of the table read, so Michael Parks stood in, and then Tarantino just kept him on.
That's the thing. It's like, you know, the performance is hypnotic. You know, even though it's hard to understand him sometimes, like, you know, you kind of want to turn on something. Yeah.
And he's got that cigarette with his bad teeth.
Being a fool for a woman such as yourself is always the right thing to do.
But he, like, doesn't blink. And then he does that, like, horribly, like, slow wink. And, like, you know.
and like, it's like at first, it's like this beautiful place, and the guy seems pretty classy. And then by the end of it, he goes into this deterioration of just a horrible human being with that, you know, one of his women that come up with the cut face and everything. And it's like, oh my God, he just got worse and worse.
He was like, hey, I would have been better. I would have just cut your face. Yeah. Like this one over here.
Fucked up.
By having us, you know, wade in those waters and have to sit through that really long scene that seems like it's out of place. You know, you do see this, like, parallel to Bill. Like, this is like the, you know, Bill is an echo of him in a way. Like you know, you see like Bill and Bud, you know, kind of being that echo, like, you know, that kind of this guy, you know, has that sort of Bud-like, you know, in his own prison, in the sense of, like, you know, of his own creation type of thing. Like, you know, he's just like already kind of washed up and broken. And then you also see the sort of parallels to Bill, where it's like, you know, every woman in Bill's life is in love with him, and, you know, extremely loyal to him, like the half French, half Japanese
Julie Dreyfus's character.
Yeah, in the first one, and, you know, Elle, and also in her own way, Beatrix. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you see those sort of parallels, I think, with the Esteban character, which, you know, I think earns a little more of a place in the movie. You know, if you're thinking about, like, where to trim things out or whatever, I think that one would be a harder one to cut than, let's say, some of, you know, Bill's backstory or Bud's strip club backstory. But, you know, I was only pointing out the sort of his excessive luxuriating and sort of feeling himself in this one, because it's such a contrast from the first one, where, like, that one just felt like it was on a rocket. You know, it's like every scene just, like, moved and moved and moved, and, like, maybe with the exception of, like, the sort of sushi sitcom scene with Hattori Hanzo and his
Sonny Chiba.
and his and his sous chef or whatever. But
warm sake. Very good.
Very good.
Understand?
But this one, like, definitely put the brakes on some of those things, which I guess is also kind of interesting, because it's broken up into two movies. You see, like, how sort of explosive the first one is, and then you see sort of the rug being pulled out from under you in this one, right? Where it's like each sort of kill and everything else, like, is anticlimactic compared to, like, the Crazy 88's
very much,
you
so,
know, like 45-minute you know, slaughter fest.
The final fight isn't even a fight. The final fight is a few sword swings over the table and the 5-point heart exploding technique, whatever. But that's it. There's no real fight. The only fight that we get is her having to deal with Bill asking her questions while his version of super sodium pentothal is coursing through her veins. You know, by the end.
There's Elle, but that one too.
That's, like, a great one. And Paimé is awesome.
But with the Elle one, like, you think it's gonna be this Crazy 88 type showdown, and it turns out she plucks the eye.
Exactly.
And she's like, I'm done with this place.
Plus the fact that she can't even get her sword out of the sheath because she's in that small thing. She keeps hitting the walls. It's so great.
way that Bud gets taken out, it was interesting because, like, I think in all the influencing movies, on all 4 of them, we had someone on the list who got killed by someone else, who didn't make it. So it's like, I guess in that way too, Bud kind of fits into that mold.
And I think, we had 2 suicides technically from 2 different movies and 2 different lists.
Yeah.
But I mean, even the suicide in Lady Snowblood, she still just cut that person in half. Just, I guess.
Lady Snowblood is so good.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, she takes her revenge on the corpse. Yeah, exactly.
I've been thinking, like, when this movie came out, I was, I really liked Kill Bill Volume 1. And then when seeing Kill Bill Volume 2, I liked it a lot, but also I was a little bit disappointed, mostly because it wasn't the rocket ship that the first movie was, with a really cool section, specifically the anime section, which I thought brought a lot to that movie, And I always thought, I'm like, the Bud stuff could have been shortened, and we could have gotten our own L cartoon, and L's cartoon could have been her getting trained by Pai Mei, and we could have seen more of all of that in like a quick little anime or whatever animation. And I think that would have, kind of been a nice parallel to the first movie. We could see L and then finally turning on Pai Mei by the end with his poisoned fish heads, and you could see more of that.
Yeah, that's true. I think in one of the many rumors about the movie, like they were talking about doing a volume 3 or 4, and that was one of the things that they had talked about, was like maybe doing an animated version of for those sequels. So either those are going to be
the Kill Bill extended universe.
Yeah.
Everything has an extended universe now.
Yeah.
It has to. You can't come out with like a developed project. It can't just be one script. No. It's 30 scripts of all the characters and their children and grandchildren.
I mean, who wants to just watch one movie?
Not this podcast.
Certainly not this podcast. Yeah, exactly.
Let's do 3 a week.
Yeah. Yeah, Eric came up with a much better format for his show, which is I'll just come on and have people tell me their stories or whatever, and I don't have to do any preparation.
No. Oh, man, I do a lot of prep.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Our stupid podcast is to watch 3 movies every single week.
No, see, now that is a little excessive. That is a touch excessive.
We're handling it just fine.
That's good, though. I mean, I do feel, you know what? It keeps you from, like, I guess, watching less, like, I don't want to say, like, I guess the word, I'm trying to be delicate about it so I don't offend anyone's sensibilities, but rather it keeps you from watching like junk food TV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you're less likely to watch The Bachelor or some like other meaningless TV show when you could actually watch cinema. Because remember, cinema is has more gravity than a movie. Films.
Yeah. And even with some of these exploitation films, I mean, I feel like they're kind of, elevated in that sense.
They're like street food. They're like good street food.
I agree. There you go. That's a great way to put it.
Good call.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's still gourmet, but it, perhaps doesn't have the prestige. It's not going to be.
You're not getting the white linen napkins.
Yeah.
And you're not getting the fancy silverware.
Right. Yeah. You're not getting it in little bites. It's going to be just a great thing on a walk in Hong Kong. It's fantastic. That's a great way to put it. Yeah, I love that.
It's just it's good stuff.
How do you like the fish head?
I thought Five Fingers was way beyond, like, especially the quality of the one version I saw was way beyond that. Like, I thought that felt like a really current cut movie, and like it felt like more modern, in my opinion, for martial arts films, even over Lady Snowblood. I thought that this one was so much more composed than Lady Snowblood. There was a lot of like janky handheld and a lot of shaky handheld in Lady Snowblood that kind of took me out of that, like really those cool shots and like cool visuals. This one didn't. It like really like took its time with things and made things look really nice.
Yeah, you can tell that they were, like you said earlier, like they were just doing like 600 setups a day or something just
insane. Trying shit, man.
Because that they had a lot of like very calculated camera placement and everything else.
We'd be remiss if we didn't mention the cinematography of the Kill Bill films. I don't even think we mentioned that in Kill Bill 1, but our returning guest from Casino, right? Same cinematographer.
Robbie Richardson. Yeah,
Robert Richardson. Yeah, he
and JFK.
He nailed every single different tone from that Tarantino probably threw at him. It's like, no, we need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do this. Right. It needs to be a Western. It needs to be a martial arts film, exploitation film, and he hit them all.
Right, and like in the black and white, everything.
Yeah,
and I feel like we talked about this a little bit on the last show when we were talking about Volume 1, but like there's this idea I feel like with Tarantino that with these movies in particular, he wanted to sort of redefine himself and wanted to invigorate like what everyone got excited about with Pulp Fiction, which is just sort of how different and how off kilter and unexpected a lot of the Pulp Fiction was at the time. And I feel like at that time in like 97 when Jackie Brown came out, people saw it and were like, oh well, it's not Pulp Fiction, it's not as crazy, it's not as like nuts, it's not as unexpected,
much more linear.
Let's do something that goes back to that unexpected part, and that's what I feel like this movie was kind of at its heart was that.
I mean, you said it. It's like for his first 3 films, he was kind of here on Earth, and then once Kill Bill came out, it was he was in cinema world, Tarantino universe.
He's in Planet Tarantino. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. This movie was looked fantastic. He does Richardson, right? Robert Richardson does such an amazing job with things being overexposed but still being super clear in frame that it brings your attention to them more than anything. And like you said, the beyond or between the black and white, between like the grainy footage of the Pai Mei fight and all that, everything had its own style, but it's still like it all seemed to go together as a unique or a unified whole, and it wasn't just like tapered together.
I mean, together. That's sort of a little bit of the pastiche with not only the influences, but then able to like weave them together. Like, we were talking about like, with Hannie Caulder, how they couldn't weave the comedy and the tragedy together.
Yeah, it stumbled. It definitely stumbled.
Yeah, and that's the thing that Tarantino is just a sort of master at that type of like cinema of being able to take you tonally from point A to point B to point B C to it's like all over the map. We talked about a lot with Omar, how that ironic music, he's able to sort of take that ironic music and twist it into something else. In this one, he did the same thing. God, what's the name of that song? Tu Mira. It's like you listen to that song sort of outside of this context, and sort of hearing it being played in this other realm, in this other context, it gives you a whole other way of looking at it. And he's able to sort of to do that with all these things, with his tone and everything else, like going from it sort of being kind of slapsticky, or like the humor of like not being able to open the sword or whatever, or like you name it, like the an asshole right here, all that stuff.
Her walking out of being buried alive and asking for a glass of water.
Yeah.
May I have a glass of water, please?
Her sort of being trained by Pai Mei sort of ruthlessly, and the opening scene of both the movies, actually being able to have those things happen and have the sort of humor and sort of the pathos as well. It's something you cannot deny how great of a sort of filmmaker he is, even if at certain times he's feeling himself a little too much with his indulgences and whatever,
But still, it's a complete piece that works together. Everything, all the pieces work together really well. He's good at that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's tough being where Quentin Tarantino is career-wise, because he has such an identity and a personality as being, I guess, I can't think of a better word, but like quirky and unique. Doing things his own way. That, when you watch a Quentin Tarantino movie, it just feels like a Tarantino movie. But because of that, he doesn't have the freedom to work on casual projects like other directors have. You know what I mean? Like another big-time director will just like, oh, so-and-so directed an episode of, something. They directed an episode of something for HBO. Or this director worked on this project.
He used to.
Just for a couple episodes. And I know he's done something.
He did an episode of ER like early on. But
yeah,
that was before Kill Bill, and I think
you
know, that is like the sort of sea change where he became what you're talking about, Eric, where it's like. Mm-hmm. You know, he's his own brand, and it's like, the sixth film by Quentin Tarantino and all that kind of crap. Like, you know, where it's like, you're right, like he has to have his own identity, and can't like just, you know, do a regular film like you're saying.
Yeah, he doesn't have that freedom anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I almost wonder if it's like, you know, authors, when they want to do something like that, they like ghostwrite something. It's a shame he can't ghost direct something without people knowing.
Well, I thought he was going to do something not ghost direct, but to do something similar, because I mean, you've got Jackie Brown, that's an adaptation of a book, and then he was also going to there was talks about it, take on a Star Trek.
Yeah.
And like Quentin Tarantino taking on a Star Trek, is that all of a sudden now you've got, you know, Quentin Tarantino in space? So you've got like all this crazy exploitation type stuff that he would probably throw back to like the 60s Star Trek. Who knows what he would do? I'm just like spitballing, obviously, but would that be his film then, or would that be?
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. He would have to operate within the confines of the Star Trek universe, which I don't know.
Yeah, because it's already been established. Yeah, and you know, the Kill Bill universe he made. And even the Inglourious Bastards World War II world he made. That's his version.
It doesn't even follow history.
No,
like remotely.
Neither does Once Upon a Time, right? Like, I mean, that's a revisionist version of what actually happened. So, yeah, I don't know. Would this be? It would have to just be Quentin Tarantino's Star Trek, and it would be living on its own, you know, on its own island somewhere. I think.
Spock in order doing for it hard time for running drugs.
Hand me a phaser. Which one? The one that says "bad motherfucker" on it.
Yeah.
There's some repugnant shit in outer space.
It says Spock. I'm Spock, and I like to fuck.
I find your arguments strewn with gaping defects in logic.
So, Eric, where can people follow you? It sounds like you also have a podcast you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah, you can check out our podcast. It's called Bartender at Large. It's really nerdy. We just talk about very industry-specific cocktail-type stuff. And you can follow me on social media. I'm at Hungry Bartender on Twitter and Instagram, and also I think TikTok. I don't know. I never log into that anymore. I'm not much of a dancer, so I just haven't really had a chance to go on there. So, yeah, hit me up. Ask you about the cocktail. Give us a follow. Yeah. Check out the podcast if you like to nerd out about cocktail stuff. You'll enjoy it.
For sure. Yeah, I know Jeremy's definitely a cocktail guy. So that's I can see the
just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey guys, it's a good connection here.
Yeah.
Well, this was a great episode. Thank you so much, Eric, again for joining. Next week we will be talking about hot summer film noirs. Did I say that right? Hot summer? Is that what we're going with? Hot,
it's almost as easy as 5-point palm exploding heart technique.
Hot, sticky summer noir.
Exactly.
3 films that we'll be talking about are The Postman Always Rings Twice from 1946, Place in the Sun from 1951, and Body Heat from 1981. Now, Body Heat I've seen. I know that movie quite well. Kathleen Turner, right? Yeah. But the other ones I have not, and I've heard about The Postman quite a bit. A lot from you, too, but quite a bit just looking at films. It's supposed to be great, so I'm excited about watching these.
Yeah, it'll be cool. This will be kind of a, I don't know what, spiritual sequel to our sort of Christmas noir episode, and we'll have Alex Vlohov back to
he's our holiday guest. Our absolute holiday noir guest.
Yeah, exactly. To take us through some more film noirs.
Do we have any Halloween noir that we could also do sometime?
He was posting about that actually. He had a whole lot of like little sort of Halloween ones. So
that would be great to fit in our October blocks.
Yeah, let's do it. Oktoberfest.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. Please make sure to subscribe and follow us on all the podcasts and social platforms at the Grindhouse Institute. And if you really want to give us a boost, check us out on Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It helps us to get noticed. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll be back next week.
Ciao, kiddo.
You and I have unfinished business.
Baby, you ain't kidding.